Good morning and welcome. We're going to discuss childhood abuse and the need to reparent and the reasons why. Grab a notebook and pen or grab your phone and get on board with taking notes on your phone, because you can take the notes to your therapist or coach and get them to give you personalised strategies from the information we share today. And even if you do it on your phone, then you'll always have the notes with you. You won't need to go, oh no, I left my notebook at home. Welcome today. My name is Linda and I'm a trauma and recovery coach. I do what I do because I believe that we all need the language in order to gain greater understanding about what's happened for us from childhood onwards, what's happened for us in trauma, and where we're going to go from here. Okay, and also information, knowledge is powerful in our lives. I found for me definitely that the more knowledge I have about this and awareness and understanding, not only can I share it with you, but when I'm journaling, I can pinpoint down exactly to what my thoughts, emotions and beliefs are, where I'm limiting myself, and how to keep moving forward from here. Okay, so why do we need to reparent? Well, when we've come from a childhood of abuse, and that abuse can include physical, emotional, sexual, spiritual, mental, and or financial abuse. It can include neglect, bullying, and also if you've been involved in sex trafficking, that also is traumatic. All of these things are very traumatic and they will require us to reparent ourselves. All of us will have diverse developmental arrests, especially when the trauma happens in childhood. So in a healthy child, they reach developmental milestones, okay? And that's how often things like autism, a whole range of things that can be picked up when a child isn't meeting certain developmental stages, okay? But emotionally, right, and as far as developing our authentic selves, as a child, these things aren't looked at this point in time. Well, certainly not extensively enough that we're able to identify just for example, me coming from seemingly a normal home, what's happening? So in my life, because I was able to go to school and do well, or, relatively well, none of what was happening for me at home would have been ever looked at, picked up, nada, okay? So hopefully in the long-term future, there's going to be a deeper awareness of what's happening for our children. And obviously the schools aren't responsible 100% either. So, with the diverse developmental arrests that happen within us, if we need to self-mother, you'll know this because you have unmet needs and you are not compassionate with yourself down at your core of your being. So, in order to be able to see that, before we do this, and if you need to self-father, there wasn't a lot of protection for you, so you will need to learn how to protect yourself, which includes things like being able to talk up for yourself. And I know for me that was a very big thing to overcome, and I still face challenges doing that. You might think, oh, she's on here, she's fine. No, I face incredible challenges too, but what I do is when I'm riddled with the anxiety. So, for example, I had the privilege of getting up and doing messages in the church that I go to. And the first time I did it, I just about passed out from, hi Jody, just about passed out from standing up in front of people. But because I've done so much work around the recovery, I know that if I get up and face the anxiety, what I'm doing is retraining my brain that whatever I choose to do as an adult, I am safe. So I'm working on that self-protection one in that manner. And also, I know my next step is being able to speak up in relationships, and I'm working on that slowly but surely. Okay, there is my ability to speak up about what's really happening for me and not have to pretend in order that somebody else is comfortable. And oh my goodness, haven't we all spent years doing that, saying nothing so that we don't upset anyone else? So anyhow, and the compassion side of this is we need to become aware of when we're blaming ourselves for things that happen in life. So anything around your home, so especially if you're a mum, this is where I noticed a lot of mine was when I was raising my kids, is if something went wrong, even if it was an accident, I would blame myself. Now, we all know the word accident implies that it was an accident. There was nothing we could control. But when we come out of childhood abuse, we come out with a mindset that everything has to be perfect to be okay, because in our amygdala, all the triggers are floating around and we want to stay safe, okay? There is more to that, but I want to give you that example so that you can feel within yourself when you're blaming yourself for things that don't go according to plan. And we have an inner critic that will tell us that quite happily, that we're at fault. We will feel a lot of guilt. My goodness, I didn't realise how much guilt I felt till I started understanding all of this. And now I refute that guilt. So I'll sit down and do a process of examination. I don't need to feel guilty about things that have nothing to do with me. And oh my goodness, I've spent years doing that. But these are the things that we look at our core that don't reflect who we are as an authentic individual, okay? And also, as a child, we're looking to our caregivers, whether they're parents, foster parents, other family members, whoever are our caregivers. Remember, when we're a baby, we're non-verbal. Okay, so we're watching and we're using all our senses to gain information, all right? And if we're not getting, sorry, the word just went straight out of my head. If we're not getting validated with unconditional love shown to us, and the message we're getting is that we're neglected or there's something wrong with us, and obviously abuse just overwhelms our senses incredibly, we get programmed a whole different way, okay? I won't go into it even more because what we need to talk about this morning is more essential. And I've done other videos on the other information. So as I go through each attachment type, I want you to think about, or feel in your heart, is this resonating with me? Can I see things? But I want you to keep your breathing on track, so 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out, because this can be very emotional. I know when I learnt this information, it was very emotional for me, and it still can be, because it's like a really deep gut level understanding of what we missed out on, okay? But at the end of it all, I will help you turn it around as well. Okay, so if we had a secure attachment is defined as one where a child develops a healthy attachment to one or more of their primary caregivers. A child with a secure attachment feels safe in the world, trusts that its needs will be met, and can bother to self-soothe and regulate their own emotions. For me, that never happened in my family of origin home. But I had moments of that with a particular set of grandparents. So when I went to their place, I felt safe. I felt that my needs will be met. So think young child, our needs are, a regular bedtime, a nice bed to sleep in, comfy, because it makes us feel really snuggled at night. Food, our meals were on time and healthy. We got to play, and there wasn't any stress. No form of abuse happening or neglect happening there. So when I went to my grandparents, I had that safe zone. So years down the track when my parents separated or divorced, and I'd go to my parents for the grandparents for the holidays, come home to my parents' house, I'd sob the night I came home, and my mother was so upset with me, to say the least, that she'd tell me that if I didn't stop crying, I could never go back. But you see, in my grandparents' home, I felt safe, and I felt that my attachment needs would be met, okay, because my nan would talk to me, my pop would talk to me, etc., etc. So avoidant attachment is a child's primary caregiver is emotionally unavailable and even rejecting. A child with an avoidant attachment learns that their needs will not be met and therefore work to deactivate their attachment needs. So for me in this situation, I love my mum to pieces. She's passed away. But because of her upbringing and her mother's upbringing before that, I actually have a significant line of strong women in my life, but the attachment needs were not there. Okay, so my great-grandmother, she walked out on 4 daughters. My mum's mum, while she was there, it wasn't a healthy marriage. Plus, my mum never felt attached to her mum because in her eyes, she treated her next daughter as, she was far more relational with her second daughter than my mum. My mum carried a lot of bitterness towards her mum. And so therefore that impacted my mother's ability to mother me. And there's a whole other chat show behind that. But because of that, and because it's come from generations, there was no, for me, this definitely stands out as one of mine that I need to reparent myself with, okay? Ambivalent attachment, a parent is inconsistent with their reactions to their child, sometimes responsive, but rejecting at other times. This results in a child overactivating their attachment system, which leaves them perceived as needy and demanding, okay? And I think that's pretty clear. So if you're a needy and demanding child, you would have had that verbalized to you quite often, okay? Or, even in the other one, when we work to deactivate our attachment needs, we live in a denial of ourself, our basic self. We deny ourselves and we deny our need to be attached. And in the ambivalent, we actually put it out there all the time that we want to be attached. And we can know people like that because we're like, you don't have healthy boundaries, okay? You cannot, they literally do not recognize that they need to take some breathing space and stop downloading, this is as adults, stop offloading on everybody else and go in and take care of their needs, all right? Disorganized attachment. Disorganized attachment is the most prevalent among the attachments. So this is the push-pull type of attachment. A child with this type of attachment doesn't know whether to attach to or avoid their primary caregivers because they are likely to be harmed and abused by them. They often have significant difficulties with relationships and also often lack self-soothing skills. All of the above is true. And I can relate to this 500%. And when I read this, I understood why I keep in a relationship. I feel comfortable to attach, then I don't, then I do, then I don't. And it's just, it drove me nuts. I can only imagine what it was like for my partner. And also, I want to do a video for us on how we can learn to self-soothe, because all of these needs, attachment needs need to be met, okay? Now, if you have 2 of these, that's okay. I know I do because my parents divorced at a very young age, and I can see how two of them resonate in me. It's not a bad thing, okay? When I first read this information, and I don't have the book with me, but Pete Walker's book, which I'll put a link to down below, has heaps more information on this. Now, for us, hearing this information for the first time can be highly emotional. I send you lots of hugs, and I understand completely how emotional this is when we recognise how much we missed out on. However, a couple of things that you can do. One, sit down and journal it out. Two, if you've got a good friend who knows how to listen, because you don't need them to solve anything, you've just got to verbalise it. When we verbalise these things, we get it out, and it takes away the energy, and it gives us more room to negotiate where we're going to go from here and how we're going to get a specific strategy going for where I'm at today. So definitely take your notes to your therapist or coach, and definitely get a personalised strategy for the one next step that you need to address in your attachment needs today. Okay? Now, I'm going to do a it's a good one for me, a self-soothing video tomorrow for adults. So of course, that self-soothing is something we should have been taught, raised with as children, but we weren't because of everything that's happened. I get confused. But we can learn to do it as adults. So as we get emotional about this, we can also take a deep breath and go, thank you. I'm so grateful that I understand this now, that I did miss out on this. It did affect my developmental needs as a child, but as an adult, I can now take hold of this with both hands, and I can take action and do something about this. And with complex PTSD, we all know that when we take action, it changes everything for us. So Jody says, I talk things over with my boyfriend, and in the moment I feel I have it resolved, but then a flashback will come back in my head, and then I'm back at square one. This is how I spend my life. Is this normal? It is if you're not taking steps, not having strategies in place to go forward. So yes, we need to do the verbalization of what happened, but then we need to do two things. We take the information to our therapist or our coach, and we work through the next strategy in order to put action into place. So talking's good, but talk therapy doesn't work 100% with complex PTSD. Scientists and specialists have now proven that talk therapy is not the most helpful for complex PTSD. Action is the most beneficial. So the two things I would do if I was you, Jody, is I will tag you, if I haven't, I will tag you in the group, in the video with the steps about how to manage an emotional flashback, because as you take those action steps each time and being committed to them, and print the list out, you will then find that actions retrain your brain. Okay, so then the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex will begin learning to work together again, and they will begin knowing that you are going to be safe because you take action as an adult to change things. And so that's, the video is one thing. And the second thing is, I really want you to, I know you see someone professionally, I want you to see them, take this information with you, say, this is what I've learnt today about my attachment needs that I can see, and ask them to give you strategies or develop strategies with them that are personalised for you now. So what can happen is we go, right, these are the needs I need to meet now, and we take action. So we have solution-focused goals, okay? And in order to help get our brain focused into the now, give it a time frame. so that by the next time you go back and see your specialist, you can say whether you did or you didn't, or were or weren't able to focus on that one goal. Okay, so one thing, one step at a time, once a day. Commitment and consistency are your primary concerns in order to keep becoming more and more well. Okay, I think I covered everything, so do that with them and they will be able to help you. Now, as you grow and go through this and are reclaiming your authentic self, the needs and the strategies will need to be adapted, and that's a good thing, because when they're adapted, it means that you're becoming more into and in tune with your authentic self and what you need. Okay? Thanks for asking the question, because a lot of people will want to know the answer as well. Okay, if you're on YouTube, feel free to hit subscribe for when the next video is out. If you're on the page, hit like and it'll give you the notifications of when I'm live next. It's been a wonderful time to share with you. I'm very blessed to share this information. Take it with both hands, take it to your trained professional and use it to make steps that create change for you even a month down the track. Blessings and dreams, and I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.